Okay, good evening and welcome to this evening's Cabinet meeting of Tamworth Borough Council. So we'll go straight in with apologies for absence. I've received apologies from Councillor Alex Farrell, who is on annual leave, and apologies from Daniel Cook, who is not very well at the moment, so unable to be with us. Aside from that, everybody is present. So item 2 on the agenda is minutes of the previous meeting. Is it your wish I sign those as a true record? That's moved by Councillor Pritchard. Anybody fancy seconding the minutes? Councillor Doyle seconds them. All those in favour? Okay, consider those as a signed record. Item 3 is declarations of interest. Does anybody have anything to declare? Okay, just for the purposes of clarity, the appendices to item 7 relates to the Staffordshire County Council Charity and Trust Committee, and those appendices do mention Councillor Robert Pritchard. However, this is just to inform us that he was informed of the decision and not actually took part in that decision-making process. So there's no declaration to be had there, but it's just highlighted within those appendices. So if there are no further declarations of interest, I'll move on to item number 4, which is question time. We have no questions from the public at this meeting. Item 5 is matters referred to the Cabinet in accordance with overview and scrutiny procedure rules. And again, we have no recommendations at this meeting. So we'll go straight into item 6 on the agenda, which is the quarterly performance report for quarter 1. Members will have read the report and will notice that now the reset and recovery programme features as part of the performance report. So the decision we made at full council on the 25th of August is now in progress, and we can see publicly in the performance report progress against the different milestones within that, and members will be aware they can access more information through the member zone. The report brings an update with corporate projects and slippage from last year, and also slippage in the capital programme this year. At the moment, this is nothing to be concerned about, and if members have read the report, they'll notice that most of the delays are in relation to the pandemic, where we've physically not been able to have people in buildings doing surveys, etc. Everything else in the report is on schedule. Future High Street Fund is on track, and if you look in the report, you'll see that there are a few issues that are cropping up as we'd expected, but nothing untowards as yet. The Gungate Master Plan is also in the performance report, and we'll pick that up a little bit later on when we get to item 7. So the only other thing I'll draw members' attention to is the budget, and the end of quarter 1. There is a positive movement in our budget as we've been able to cash in some savings that have been made, which obviously makes the budget position a little bit better than as predicted in February. However, we still have a large deficit forecast in year 5. And whilst we're talking budgets, the budget consultation is now live, so we're well on the way to putting next year's MTFS together. So I'd encourage members of the public to engage with that consultation. With that, happy to take any questions or listen to any comments from Cabinet members. Please feel free to indicate. Councillor Pritchard. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we endorse the contents of the report. All those in favour? Okay, that is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, so that brings us on to item 7, which is the Memorandum of Understanding Homes England. This report gives us an update on the Gungate site and included in the appendices. It's useful to remind ourselves of both items that are in the appendices, including Tam Youth, which is controlled by partners and not directly by TBC. However, we are working with partners in terms of releasing that site. And it's also worth reminding members of some of the things that are in the master plan. There's growing confusion about the master plan, that it's hard lines in the ground. Well, actually, It's an aspirational master plan that's been market tested, and it's about driving regeneration rather than identifying individual things in very tight individual boxes. So it's a bit broader than that. So this report in front of us this evening, the key thing is the Homes England Memorandum of Understanding and working going forward. Homes England can support the council in unleashing the opportunities of Gungate, and they can do that because they can bring experience, specialist knowledge, and also can de-risk some of the sites, some of the problems we may have with the sites. So the intention is to get on board with Homes England and actually drive forward and get some regeneration on the Gungate site. It's worth remembering that for over a decade before the council owned the site, very little progress was made by the previous owners. And now 3 years since we've purchased it, we've had the pandemic and some challenges, but we've actually put a master plan together, and now we have the opportunity to work with Homes England to release the site and actually get some things moving on there, and defeat some of the frustrations that we've had. So with that, I'll move the recommendations that the Cabinet notes the update against the progress of the key work streams in supporting regeneration at the Gungate site, that the Chief Executive signed the non-legally binding MOU between the Borough Council and Homes England. In consultation with myself, officers actively explore and develop all relevant opportunities with Homes England to support the Council bringing the site forward for regeneration at an accelerated pace to benefit the wider borough and its residents, and to keep Cabinet and relevant scrutiny committees up to date on a regular basis. So that's what I'd like to move. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Councillor Pritchard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's just to welcome Homes England's involvement in the project. They can clearly see its potential, and it's really great for us to work with somebody who's got also some financial resource to help keep this project on track and get it fulfilled.
Thank you, Councillor Pritchard. And I think it's something we very often forget when we looked at the master plan, and we get confused as to the position we're in to deliver that. There is still a gap in the funding of our aspiration and the reality of delivering that. Do any officers want to add anything before we move to the vote? No? Excellent. In that case, I've moved it. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bailey seconded. All those in favour? Okay, that is carried. Thank you very much. And now for the update on the dry recycling contract renewal. This is Councillor Danny Cook's report. However, you'll all be aware that he's not well, so therefore can't be with us this evening. So I will start by introducing the report with a note that Councillor Cook has supplied. And Councillor Cook says, it is important to remember that Tamworth Borough Council is not wanting to introduce any new receptacle or any separate paper or waste, separate paper or card from tins and plastics due to any set of circumstances that we control. This has been done by external forces. There's been a shift in the international recycling markets over the last few years, and no longer will recycling companies around the world take contaminated recycled products. We need to start to separate out the recycling and produce better quality and improve the quantity of the recycling in order to help the environment. Now, we have reached an agreement with Staffordshire County Council and our partner Lichfield District Council. We can approve this report tonight to enable us to move forward with the implementation and communication with our residents. So the proposal in front of us is to move forward on the recommendation of dual-streamed recycling. The recommendations are in the report. I've got something to add, but I wondered if any Cabinet members wanted to raise any points or ask any questions at this stage. Councillor Pritchard.
I think it's just to repeat the point. I mean, you've already said it in the portfolio holders note. We don't want to change the scheme. Everybody's happy with the scheme we've got, but the market changes and what's required of the authority changes. So we're in this unfortunate situation where we're going to have a further separation of the waste. So I think it's just reassuring residents that we're going to do the least impactful change we can do. But this isn't something we wish to do. We simply do have no choice.
Thank you, Councillor Pritchard. Anybody else? Okay. Echo your thoughts, Councillor Pritchard. I saw on social media this week that the local newspaper, the Tamworth Herald, had ran had ran the story on this report, and they'd ran it with the question, what would you like, or what do you want to do? Well, I can tell you, as a resident of Tamworth, what I want to do is empty my bin and have it picked up. I don't want to be sorting it at all. I want to go back to the 80s where we just threw everything in a galvanised bin and it was removed. The problem with that is it went in a hole in the ground. It did nothing for the climate. We've now got Joe Biden announcing that climate change is already here with hurricanes and wildfires. And it's because of the actions of us 30 years ago, 40 years ago, or whatever else. So we can't do what I want. We can't just throw it all away and let somebody else worry about it. We've actually got to take responsibility as an authority and as individuals. I was musing yesterday as to the additional costs and how much we spend on waste recycling and waste collection and management. And this is after the public sorted out and separate their waste. If we went back to a single receptacle and disposed of it in the way we used to, not only is it the wrong thing to do environmentally, it's also an extra £1.6 million a year on top of what we already spend, which across the partnership with Lichfield District is getting on for £6 million. So you know, we're top end of £8 million to do the wrong thing environmentally. So yeah, I'd love to throw it all in one bin. That'd be great for me, because I've got way too many different receptacles to sort stuff in. But the harsh reality of it is, it's the right thing to do environmentally. It's the right thing to do by the taxpayer, and we've got to do our bit and share that pain. So the world has moved on from when we had a single bin in the 80s, and we've got to accept that, and we've got to move forward, and we've got to all play our part. So that's me on my soapbox. Anybody else? I've moved the recommendations 1 to 4. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Doyle seconded that. All those in favour? Okay, that is carried. And that brings us to item 9 on the agenda, which is the exclusion of press and public. However, before I move this, what I'd like to do is ask the portfolio holder to very briefly explain why this report is exempt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I say the report will be discussing, should we say, market-sensitive information and tenders from companies. So we have to keep that confidential. So the decision we make will be made public, but obviously the details can't be shared publicly.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Pritchard. And with that, I would like to move that in accordance with the provisions of the Local Authorities Regulations 2012, Section 100A, bracket 4, close bracket, of the Local Government Act 1972, the press and public be excluded from the meeting during the consideration of the following business on the grounds that it involves the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of Part 1 of the Schedule 12A to the Act, and the public interest in withholding the information outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information to the public. I so move. Do I have a seconder? That's seconded by Councillor Pritchard. All those in favour? That's unanimous. In that case, there are no press and public here, but thanks everybody who's watched on the webcast, and wish you a good evening.